So welcome back, everyone. This is Elevated Duty Podcast. This is another week of information and a lot of work. So today we have a group of people that they do a lot for our troops, not only for the unit, but also for the whole state overall. So, what do you think about guests today, Sergeant Norcross?
We have a full table, and we're sharing equipment. So when myself and Sergeant Rivera are talking, please be give us a little credit here. But to my right, we have a lot of experience from multiple different units. And if we just want to kind of go around the table and explain where we come from, how you got there, and your current roles and operations with the units that you belong to.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Command Sergeant Major Cedric Phebus. I am the Garrison CSM at the Centennial Training Site. I've been there just over 3 years now. I come from originally a maintenance background. I've got 27 years in service, and I've held all of the leadership roles throughout the enlisted career course, and this one by far has been one of the most adventurous assignments of my career.
Outstanding. Sir?
Lieutenant Colonel Oscar Cabral. So I come from a Mexican-American background. My parents were immigrants that actually came from Mexico. I'm first generation here, and I'm glad to say I'm actually the first in my family to join the military.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think I'm the only one currently serving in my family. So, my entire family. Yeah. So I joined the Guard in 2001. 2001, when I left active duty. Came into OCS program, and did several assignments, deployment in the Guard. Has led me to where I am now. I am the CTS Garrison Commander here next to Sergeant Major Phebus, and having fun. Just about completed my tour. So in July of this year, I'll be transitioning out, being replaced by a good officer, a good Lieutenant Colonel Mensch, and we'll see where I go from here.
Hey, Sergeant First Class Devin Sager. I'm the State Marksmanship Coordinator for the state of Colorado. So I currently reside in the G3 office down at JFHQ. And the State Marksmanship Coordinator basically is the individual that's in charge of all marksmanship-related events in the state of Colorado. Military marksmanship, matches and things of that nature. Joined the Guard back in 2007. Originally in aviation with the UAVs and the drones and stuff like that. So I've was able to deploy, as a guardsman back in 2009. So that was, pretty fun. And then over, basically 2014, we stood the marksmanship team back up in 2014. And me and a couple other individuals were a part of that. And I've been fortunate enough to kind of stay with that team for the last 10 years now. And but yeah, just trying to continue to do the things I love and compete, and because competition breeds excellence. So
Outstanding. I love it. One of the things I wanted to ask, and maybe you leaders can touch more on it, is coming from the different backgrounds and obviously different MOSs and different career paths, now finding yourself in a MOS immaterial, a double-aught Fox position. A lot of people coming into the Guard, we give them the list and options of MOSs in the state of Colorado that are available. But in these specific units, it is MOS immaterial. Would any of you or a couple of you like to talk about what are the differences? I know soldiers currently throughout the force, they may not understand how to get into these units or what other opportunities are available. We always tell people, if you are lacking in your career progression, to reclass and find another MOS, but this is a different option as well, correct?
Okay, so when you join the Guard, you have to pick a job. and the recruiting team and the folks down at MEPS, they'll help you go through and sort out what you're qualified for and what's available to you at the time. So we all have a base job, be that infantry or maintenance or aviation or logistics or whatever it is. These 00 Fox slot or MOS immaterial slots are generally a mid-career broadening assignment type situation. So you've been in your job, in your position, in your career path for a while, and it's time for you to spread your wings and experience something new, so that when you do go back to your tunneled or siloed career path, you bring a new point of view and new experiences to train your younger soldiers with. So broadening assignments are typically instructors, trainers, marksmanship trainers like we use at CTS, or schoolhouse type instructors like we use at RTI. Recruiting is often a broadening assignment for a lot of soldiers. Being a drill sergeant, going to a jump status for some. There's a lot of opportunities out there to grow and see something different and break up the day-to-day. Usually those are a 3 to 5 year exercise midpoint in a soldier's career, right around the E5, senior E5, E6 levels, when we like to see it happen. And then they take that gathered knowledge and then they take that back to their home unit or their home career branch, and now they have new tools in their toolbox to train those younger soldiers beneath them.
That makes sense. And so for yourself, Sergeant Sager, you were saying you fall underneath the G3, correct?
Correct.
So State Marksmanship Coordinator, as well as title position for MDay is?
It's the Senior Marksmanship Coordinator.
Senior Marksmanship Coordinator.
Paragraph and line number, it's the Senior Marksmanship Coordinator.
Now, would you like to talk about how your IDT MDay position coincides with the mission and goal of the Centennial Training Site right now currently?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm kind of a facilitator. I just try to promote and, encourage units to do they have to regulatorily, but I'm there to just assist them with their training. So most of the times, and what I really like to do is being out on the range and, watching, units train IWQ or some kind of, stress-related event, stress shoot, event of something like that. But I just try to bring in my little pieces of expertise on the actual process of being a marksman. By no way, shape, or form am I going to make you into a world-class shooter.
Sure.
But I can give you the tips and tricks that are going to help you become a better shooter. Because at the end of the day, it's all about metrics, right? And if a unit's trying to achieve 100% qual rates, and they don't have those organic instructors within their organizations, then they can ask within the G3, which is planning and operations section within the grand scheme of the Army. Any 3 shop is plans and operations. So I'm on the operational side of trying to get these soldiers and these units to that higher next level of metrics met, saying I've got 100% success rate in qualling all of my service members for their IWQ on their assigned weapon system. So I really like being out in the field. I like being on the range. That's where I generally try to be, is because that's kind of the stigma part of shooting. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's windy, sometimes it's whatever it so may be. But if you're there to kind of tuck some of these junior shooters that have maybe only shot one time, and that was at basic training, and they were being yelled at or told that they were doing something wrong, they're not really they're not sinking any of that stuff in that they learned. So I try to be as kind and compassionate as possible sometimes, but I'm trying to help these soldiers pass their individual qual rate, because the last 2 steps in this table, table 5 and table 6, if you're familiar, are the most challenging and daunting tasks within the process itself. So I try to be out in the units, out in the fields as much as possible, and really trying to give the tips and tricks is what I really like to do during my IDT drill weekends.
That's great.
So, off record, we mentioned I was confused, and I apologize if in the past I kind of mixed it, and I gave the idea that you were part of the CTC because you helped them, as you mentioned, you're like a facilitator. What was the word you mentioned before, Sergeant Major?
Training enabler.
Training enabler. So, based on that, so even though you don't work like direct, well, you work with the CTC, but you're not under them, right?
Correct. Yeah, I used to be a member of CTS, and I loved that position when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot, but my current position right now is no longer paragraph and line numbered underneath CTS. I am JFHQ HHD's G3 Senior Marksmanship Coordinator, and all I do is that I facilitate and I help and I assist units with marksmanship-related events, whether that's a stress shoot, IWQ, FAM fire, familiarization, EST. I've done all of those things, and I will continue to do those things. But in no way, shape, or form, as I sit in the position I sit right now, am I the person or the person that is controlling, a couple big events that are coming up this year. I will assist them in any way, shape, or form, but I am not the sole responsibility of the products that CTS develops.
Awesome. And again, I apologize if I mixed up in the past, and I put because my job is to tell the Army story and tell what we do, and so probably what I portrayed, and if you were part of this CTS even way before I came here to the Colorado Army National Guard, and I don't know who mentioned it's just the mustache, right?
Yeah.
So if they see the mustache, they see the CTS, right? I told you before, you're the face of the organization.
I don't want to be the face of the organization. There's way better people out there for that than me.
Well, Sergeant Norcross is the voice, though.
Hey, Sergeant Rivera. I just wanted to say we are the CTS. We're so grateful to have Sergeant Sager and his team support, especially with our big events. Marksmanship Academy that's coming up in May, and then Take Match in August. Without his support and his expertise and knowledge, it'd make it quite difficult. I mean, we do have experts, in the CTS. All our staff, they're experts at what they do, and they're subject matter experts. But having this other level of expertise there to assist us just makes these events so much better and beneficial to the entire Guard.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And sir and Sergeant Sager, you both mentioned some of the upcoming events.
Mm-hmm.
And Sergeant Major and leaders, would you like to talk? We have soldiers all the time reaching out saying, I didn't know this was coming. I missed this opportunity. So for moving forward, can we set the record straight and kind of, would you like to talk about what those events are, what they entail, the intent behind these events that are coming up, and hopefully moving forward, continuing?
Absolutely, yeah. It's your guys' product, so.
So coming up here in May, we're going to be hosting our fourth annual Marksmanship Academy. This is a product that we, as a CTS, developed about 4 years ago. The challenge that we found and the challenge that we faced is that the Army changed the way that we do individual weapons qual, and the products that were out there and the products that were available, we didn't feel like they did a good job of advertising or providing training information to the local units as to how to conduct this new program. And so we as a team put together the Marksmanship Academy, and it lays out doctrinally by the book how to conduct individual weapons qualification to the new standard from start to finish with all of the products. Our course is mostly a train-to-trainer event. We're looking for that high-speed NCO, that E6, that E7, a high-speed E5, the guy or gal that's going to come in, take the information we give them, learn how to run a range properly, run the whole product properly, take that information back to their unit, and be able to push an entire company or battalion through a weapons qualification to standard. So that's the product we built. The course is about 40 hours. We spend a lot of time on the range. There's practical exercises. There's a lot of trigger time, both simulated and live fire. The students get an opportunity to learn how to write con-ups, learn how to communicate through the tower, learn all of the commands, as well as they get to have some one-on-one mentorship with, hands down, some of the best marksmen in the world, to improve their own foxhole, their own lethality, and take those skills back as well.
Yeah, if I just may say, the Marksmanship Academy, it's a class of about 25 individuals that are in this class. But they at the end of this course or class, they become certified as MMTs, which is Marksmanship Master Trainers. Okay, so what's this do? This provides another tool to the commanders at the units, and these individuals assist the commander, through anything having to do with marksmanship and qualification. And it's just a great asset for the commander to have. So they need to use these individuals appropriately.
And for that event coming up for the Marksmanship Academy, for those that haven't heard about it or soldiers that are interested, what would you advise as leaders to get them into these?
Yeah, I mean, if I was a first sergeant or a commander, I would definitely want to be, like Sergeant Major said, I want, someone that's eager. And it's like anything in the Guard, it's like there's a lot of things that we have to do on our own time. And we have to, if you want to be a better, trumpet player, you have to practice on your own time. The Army's not going to pay guard guys, gals, 365 days like they do on our active duty counterparts. So it's like, if someone's already competing in a civilian circuit or has shown some kind of, competent level of being able to successfully and safely run a range as an assistant, from years past, then, those individuals are going to be kind of like earmarked, in the Rolodex of like, this is be a really good candidate to send to. But you don't have to be the grand all be all greatest shooter in your company to attend the Marksmanship Academy, because the Marksmanship Academy is designed to build individuals into those MMT roles, those Master Marksmanship Trainer roles. You just kind of, as long as you have, and I don't want to sound cliche, but a positive attitude and a strong work ethic, like those are the guys I want in the class, So if commanders and first sergeants are hearing this, like identify those strong leaders, in the E4 or E5 to E6 range, because at the end of the day, there's rank requirements for individuals doctrinally that have to run a range. We'll take E4s, we have in the past, but it's like it kind of doesn't really do them the holistic good. But even young lieutenants, those are very strong applicants too, because they see the trials and tribulations of trying to cram 3 or 4 days from a planning and organizational standpoint of tasks to do in a day, so it just really depends on, as long as you're safe, that's step one. Step two is you have to be able to, you want to do this, you're going to have additional roles and tasks placed on you that you're going to have to achieve in between drill periods. So,
but I would say reach out to your leadership, first line leaders, and just ask them about it and express the interest to them.
I think that's the biggest piece right there, because you talked about it at the very beginning of that question, is that soldiers didn't hear about it. So it's like, here's my proverbial stomping on the floor like moment. Everyone in the camera that can see me, like, go ask your platoon sergeant right now. Like, shoot him a call, email, first sergeant, commander, say, hey, I want to go to the Marksmanship Academy. Now, it is a first come, first served basis, but that's how you start. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, and it's like, if you say that you want to do this, then you need to put forth a little bit of effort in building your, resume or your submission packet to attend the Marksmanship Academy. So
in the display, we have been seeing, like, I put some pictures from the last year, and something like, it was my first time seeing a Marksmanship Academy like being run, and I'm glad I saw it by being run by Colorado. So one of the things I saw by doing interviews and taking the pictures, is that the students, once they go to Marksmanship Academy, they get a taste of what is to be safety, right? They shoot and they run the tower, right, and they run the ammo point. So they get all the parts of being on a range. You can be we usually go shoot, but there's a lot of stuff that goes behind, and then those students get trained on that part. Can you go in deep in that part?
So, in order to work as or operate a range at Fort Carson, you have to have select personnel of the right rank that are RSO or range safety officer qualified. Fort Carson offers that class on used to be Thursdays, and it was a first come first serve. Well, that gets pretty bottlenecked, especially for M-Day soldiers. We have trainers within the CTS who are qualified and certified through range control at Fort Carson, and we provide our own range RSO course. So part of the Marksmanship Academy, very first day, we'll give you your RSO certification. That's step one. Then we teach you all of the technical ins and outs of the new weapons qual, both with the M9 and the M4. And then we go into some advanced book work, talking about dope and distance and sight picture and breath control and all the things that our expert trainers nerd out on. Then we take them out on the range and we give them an opportunity. We use our cadre as the shooters, and the students have to run a range for us. That gives us oversight, control, extra safety precautions, and gives them real-world experience in what it is to actually run the range real time. We do it live fire, live ammo. Oftentimes we use it to support ourselves or the MTB or the RTI for their weapons qual. We use the students as the cadre so that we can get other metal tasks done for ourselves. And then at the end of it, they get homework. They have, like I said, they have to write a con up. They have to do the risk assessments. They have to do the range control communications. They have to learn. They get training on radio jargon and how to speak on the radio properly. How to communicate with Fort Carson. How to do the paperwork for ammo turn-in. They get all of that from start to finish. So the soldier that does well in Marksmanship Academy takes all those products back with him or her and retains that information. He is now prepared to set his or her commander up for success the next time they have to do IWQ.
That's great. And what I think is the greatest part is we do all that in house. And as you mentioned, like the RSO part used to be like when we had to wait like months to get like our RSOs trained, and now we have a unit that specifically do that and do it to the standard that Fort Carson is not on top of us like hammering us down, right? So
real quick, the Marksmanship Academy is not a doctrinal program. It's not a program of record. So like in the eyes of the Army, there's not others that I know of, and I could be totally wrong, but I don't know if there's other states doing.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not trying to like brag about it, but it's just, it was a need that we saw organically within the state of Colorado. And we were able to convince, the current command at the time of CTS to be like, hey, there's a big need for this. And it kind of fulfilled, some of the metal tasks organically to CTS. And it really allowed the CTS to kind of put their name on the state of Colorado to give back to the state of Colorado, because there's, a lot of those individual things that Sergeant Major was just talking about. It's all you learn those things by doing. And if you're just kind of like, hey, you'd at a range saying, hey, run the radio, you don't know what you're doing other than pushing a button and talking every hour, but you don't know you don't know the flow of it. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Or you're a young lieutenant that literally is now a brand new PL that has, stepped on a range for the first time. And now he's the OIC. He doesn't know what he's doing. There's nothing against him. You just don't know what you just don't know. But we just kind of saw this as a need for the state of Colorado. And by no way, shape, or form is this a perfect product, but it definitely gives back to the state of Colorado on how to successfully, safely conduct an IWQ range on a major Army installation.
Awesome. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I think it's the 4th annual, and I think we're at a point now where we want to grow the Marksmanship Academy. We're ready to enhance it. So what we're looking at now is adding or including the machine gun to the Marksmanship Academy. Right now, it's just small arms, but we're.
But we didn't have like weapons like was surf crew weapons. Right?
Crew serve.
Yeah.
You got me messed up.
Yes.
My Spanish is like.
No. So yes, and
So we didn't have that.
Negative.
Oh,
So
wow.
so by the year 2026, that'll be the first implementation or iteration of having the new enhanced Marksmanship Academy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because we're starting to see like our ROI has been met. You
Mhm.
know, so it's like our ROI has been met. We've successfully trained probably every make. I know we've trained at least one person in every MACOM within the state of Colorado.
When does the Marksmanship Academy started?
When was it started?
Mhm.
4 years ago.
Oh wow! So
Yeah.
it's basically
It's
brand new.
new. But we've kind of met that point, like in an organization where we've gotten that information out to at least 100 soldiers now, and those hundreds, or within different organizations, within units, whether it's a brigade, battalion, or a company, or even a unit-based level, someone has received this information, so they know what right is, rather than just having a big manual thrown in their face and say figure it out. So we've kind of, it's like what. Like Colonel Cabral is saying, it's like we've met that threshold, and now it's time for us to like push the envelope one more time.
So how was that process of starting that? Because there was, as you mentioned, when you started, there was no like blueprint to build this, right?
No.
So you had to build this from scratch, basically the program.
So from my perspective, this seed was already planted when I came into the CTS.
Okay.
But from what I saw is the Army had instituted the new ACFT program.
Mm-hmm.
And information about ACFT was everywhere. You were getting an email about it 3 times a week. There was posters and flyers and advertisements and things everywhere about it. Hey, this is coming. Prepare yourself. Be ready for the changes. And then they send out pamphlets. And right about the same time, Big Army decided to change the IWQ program. It didn't get near the kind of communication support that the ACFT did. And because we have a group of trainers that eat, breathe, and sleep marksmanship, they heard about the new thing, and they went digging into these new manuals and started geeking out about it. And the team themselves, it didn't have anything to do with the leadership. It was the team and the trainers that dug in there and went, oh my goodness, this is huge. This is a big change. It's way bigger than it used to be. You can't just jump on a bus and ride down to Carson, shoot in 4 hours and leave. This is a several-day event now. There's written tests, and this information isn't getting out here. How do we help the state understand what this program is? That's kind of how the seed got planted. And it was an idea that came from the team on the ground of our trainers. They developed it. They presented the idea to the command team and said, we need to do this for our organization. And the more we looked into it, the more it made total sense. Yeah. And we got buy-off from higher and started pushing directly in that direction, full steam. So that's kind of how it came about.
So the way I see it is that we this program we're pioneers on this side, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So not other state has, as far as your knowledge, no other state has something similar.
There might be, and maybe it's not to the same scale, but I mean, I know that there's really good marksmen and really good trainers across the nation. I'm very close friends with a lot of them, but it's like I don't know if they're doing anything in this kind of structure, like and calling it a marksmanship academy.
Mm-hmm.
But there's guys out there that are doing small. They might have instead of a CTS, they might have a team like within the SART section go to individual units and kind of kind of walk with them through all the tables, and they're doing it maybe on a smaller scale just because it's more manageable for maybe a 2 or 3 man team rather than an entire battalion. But but in this state to cross blanket and say I want to support the entire state, I don't know of anybody that's doing it.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, Sergeant Sager. So, and we've been talking about it, that this is an unofficial Army school, right?
Correct.
40 hours of instruction down at the Centennial training site. But there are other official, schools.
Absolutely.
Do you want to touch base on that and the feedback that we've got from, maybe the National Guard Marksmanship Training Center, if they approve what we're doing, if they stand behind it, and then, we had Sergeant Max Miller on the podcast a little bit ago, and we were asking him, how do you get to become a Bravo 4? How do you get to these schools? Well, this, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, this would be an unofficial school, but your unit's tracking, and now you would be put in place of extra duties at your IDT unit that may open doors for other schools, such as squad designated marksman or do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, so down at and that's one of the other positions that I kind of hold as a liaison between National Guard bureaus, Marksmanship Training Center, which is down in Little Rock, Arkansas, and the state of Colorado. So I'm kind of I don't want to say I control it, but I definitely liaison, funding and orders and ammo and training opportunities and stuff like that. And one of those training opportunities is, the squad designated marksmanship course. And that is an ATARS registered Army doctrinal TRADOC school. And they hold that, I think, maybe 7 or 8 times a year down in Arkansas. And that course will, it doesn't give you the range capabilities, like how to run a range, to my knowledge. It doesn't give you how to run, and it might, I don't know. But it definitely will show an individual to shoot every single weapon system in the Army's inventory.
Sure.
And they will show you not only how to operate it, but engage a target within its designated, distances, and the correct techniques from all the way from an M9 pistol, or M9 and M17 pistols, all the way up to 50 cals. I mean, it's everything in between, and that is a very doctrinal class because it's controlled by higher, what's the word? TRADOC.
Yeah.
So. And then help me with the other one, the big one.
And that's the squad designated marksmanship course, and then we also have SAWE, small arms weapon expert course.
Yeah, and that's more just geared towards the small arms side. And that class or that course might be more of what we're trying to do. I couldn't tell you for certainty. I have yet to attend that class myself. I'd love to go, but there are, like you said, there's without doubt above us, and even down at now Fort Moore down
MMTC.
Yep, they do. They'll go out to units if you're willing to pay for it. If your unit's willing to pay for it, they'll bring a whole team of the AMU guys, and they'll show you everything that you need to know to shoot a rifle and shoot a pistol at a world class level athlete.
Right. Yeah. So between squad designated marksman, master marksmanship training course, small arms weapons expert, all ATARS official, you have to register, and there has to be slots and funding available. Mm-hmm. And essentially this is an answer that Colorado has come to and said, we don't need to reserve slots.
Nope. We
can do this all in-house. And have you talked with the National Guard Marksmanship Training Center and the AMU? Are they tracking that we're doing this?
Is a little bit. They know. There's a handful of individuals that know that we're doing it, and I think we kind of came at it from the standpoint of we saw the shortcomings within the state of Colorado because, and I don't want to say anything bad about Fort Carson, but there's a lot of regulatory guidance that we have to circumvent, and that if you were to go to big ATARS, course down in Arkansas, they're not going to teach you about the intricacies of Fort Carson's, isms, their little range isms that we would teach on Fort Carson because it's in our own backyard. So it's just one of those things where we kind of really saw that there's so much new growth within the state of Colorado that we kind of saw that there's a lot of the older expertise was trying to say, oh, well, this is how we used to do it in weapons quality. Well, that's not the right way anymore. Like, doctrine has changed. We need to change the way we teach. We need to change the way that we're doing things because A, we're under a very specific thumb of Fort Carson, and then B, it's like the Army has changed, so we need to change with it.
Well, and not only is there regulatory guidance at Fort Carson, and not only has the program of IWQ changed, but the ammunition has changed.
Correct.
And now we're looking ahead, and the weapon systems are going to change.
Correct.
And if we're not able and prepared to adapt and move faster than our counterparts, we're going to be left behind.
Mhm.
So,
So
Sergeant Norcos, do you have any other questions straight about the Marksmanship Academy?
Keep sharing the mic. Not specific about Marksmanship Academy, but that's only one thing on the Centennial training site, as well as
one
your
last
end here.
Yep. So just
Yeah,
one
please.
last thing about Marksmanship Academy. It's April 29th through 5 May. So when you are talking to your first sergeants or your readiness NCOs or your platoon sergeants saying, hey, little private, Sager here, I want to go to this thing, or Sergeant Sager, I want to go to this thing. Those are the dates that, that's when that class will be, hosted by CTS, down at CTS for the state of Colorado. So,
And if anyone has any questions, and if they're having issues at the unit level with their, first line leadership or squad leader, fire team leader, whatever
Yeah.
the case may be, they can reach out, I'm assuming, to
absolutely.
the leaders here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously go through the proper change
Yeah, for
change
sure.
of command at the unit level. But if there's pushback or okay.
Yeah, I know for a fact that we still have open seats for this course. Unless something
And we're
dramatically has
looking-
changed in the last 2 weeks,
Yeah.
I know for a fact that there is plenty of seats open for this course.
With 2 months. And is it the unit's responsibility for paying the soldiers? How does that work?
So that is a unit responsibility. I know that there's special funding codes that readiness NCOs can speak to because I'll dabble in it, but I don't want to say anything that I don't know for 100% certainties. They can also use, so there's funding codes available that they can use. They can also use split trains. They can use part of their AT if their commander is willing to let them go do that instead of the unit's annual training plan. Kind of gets in a little gray area because as a unit commander, you want all of your unit there at the same time. But there are multiple avenues of getting paid to
Right.
attend this course.
And that was it had been asked one time not too long ago is, are these events volunteer? Am I going to be put on orders? You have to be a drilling
Correct. You have
status
to be in
member
a
soldier
paid-
to attend.
You have to be in a paid unit status.
And so lodging at the Centennial training site, that's taken care of.
100% free.
Okay.
Yep. But and then the other piece of that is the individual's equipment requirements. It is always preferred if these soldiers would come to these marksmanship academies with their assigned weapon systems, because there is a portion that we talk about dope and gathering data and the intricacies of your own individual weapon system. If you can take that from your arms room at your unit, your local unit, and bring it to the marksmanship academy, that's only going to add to your success. With pre-coordination, let's say that you just don't have the capability of transporting government-owned weapons to and from your home or your unit's home or wherever your unit's located to Fort Carson. There are, on a very extreme limited basis that you could use CTS supplied weapons.
Okay.
But you'll need the basic issue things that you've been issued to you by CIF, some kind of way to carry magazines and a Kevlar and iPro. We're not going to give you that stuff. They're not going to give you that stuff. I'm not going to give you that stuff.
But there's a packing list that's sent
Absolutely,
out. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
And reviewed. And so this is only one thing,
Correct.
and we talked about at the beginning of classes coming up that you're involved with and CTS is involved with. Would you leaders like to talk about the other events that we have planned for calendar year 2024?
Absolutely.
Well, we have the tag match coming up in August, and I think it's the 10th. It's the 10th annual tag match. So this is the biggest event that we have. Coming into the CTS, I wanted to make the biggest and best tag match ever. So last year, we hosted 124 participants, which had been the biggest.
Correct.
But that was quite big for us because it's it's pretty tough on our personnel. We don't have the manpower right now to oversee it, but we did fairly well. So we think 120 is a good number for this year. So that's what we're going to shoot for, about 120. But this match, the tag match, it's not only Army or National Guard, Colorado Army National Guard, but we also invite the active duty component of Fort Carson to come down and compete. It's also the Air Guard that competes with us, and it's a fun event. They get to do a lot of things that you would normally not do, and shoot and compete alongside individuals such as Sergeant Sager, that they would normally not do. They get more visibility than they would have at any other events here in Colorado, and it may even lead to some type of team or competition nationwide or international. You never know. But yeah, it's an excellent match. It's a fun match. It's 4 days long, correct? 4 days long. I ask who's ever interested, to sign up. It's going to be even better this year.
So I think tag match is great. Not only for for the competition, but also for me specifically, because I do a lot of content creation and it's great for content creation. So last year it was a lot of events. Is there anything new coming up on the tag match that you can disclose? Because I know if there's something that is not like 100% official, but are you looking for any changes or events, or for those that they already participated and they want to come back?
So I will say that every year the team comes up with the events. The commander and I, we don't designate what they're going to do. We let their creative juices flow, and they come up with the events. There is a set of those that are pretty standard for certain scoring purposes and the ability to qualify to go on to compete at higher levels. And then there's some other events that we let these guys create on their own. And so we always try and throw in at least one surprise. This year we hosted, in the 4 days, I think we shot 11 events, 9 scored matches and 2 unscored matches, if I remember that correctly. And one of those was the first ever night fire scored match. We did it under night vision and nods, and in a hailstorm. And that particular day, we were on the range at 05 in the morning and didn't come off until 01 the next day. It was a ton of fun. Morale was great. Everybody was very safety conscious. It was incredible. Probably one of the coolest days in my Army career.
There was a tornado warning or something as well, right?
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to answer that question from my standpoint, we always try to stay relevant. If you fall into the same thing year in and year out, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anybody any good. So we always try to stay relevant. Like Sergeant Major said, last year we introduced night fire. Yes, it was a challenge administratively, equipment, intensive, logistics. It was a very tall order. But I came at it from the standpoint of, let's just take a quick survey across the Colorado Guard and say, okay, A, have you ever looked through Army-issued night vision devices? Okay, it's pretty small. It's pretty organic, as a per capita kind of thing. It's pretty small group. Okay, you've looked through one. Okay, now 2, have you ever used an IR laser aiming device? Okay, that group's even smaller. Okay, yeah, a lot of them are issued. There's a lot of them strapped to a lot of rifles across Colorado National Guard, but they don't know how to use them. And then 3rd, and this is probably the most limiting factor, have you ever shot anything with those 2 pieces of equipment? And it was like, okay, this is a very easy, cheap, in the grand scheme of things, ROI to get 126 guys, some of them, most of them, had never done that. So now that they can take that information back to their units and say, hey, supply sergeant, hey, platoon sergeant, hey, first sergeant, can we try to talk about just one night during AT, just sign out, 100 nods and give them to every person in the company and go on a walk. That's all we're asking for. It doesn't have to be crazy, but it's just the experience and it's the repetitions of, okay, I got to find a battery. I got to find a mount. I got to find a Kevlar that's capable of this. And then it's like, so we're trying to stay relevant, but it's also designed chaos because we're trying to get these soldiers and these units exposed to things that they don't normally get to be exposed to on a yearly annual training basis. But
Yeah.
there is always one mystery event
Yep.
that we do not tell anybody about what it comprises of. It's usually some kind of action-based, multi-gun match, but we don't tell anybody what the course of fire is. And then there's always new matches that are being developed by other, state organizations that we will steal from or we'll give them information to help their tag matches. But at the end of the day, we always strive to stay relevant because that's what, at the end of the day, if you train for the same thing year in and year out, you get really good at that one thing, and then you kind of lose focus of what the whole picture's about.
Yeah, and lethality overmatch, right? And
Yeah.
so if you can't make it to the Marksmanship Academy for 2024, that is something that's covered quite in depth in some of these slides. And lethality overmatch with equipment, always changing.
Yep.
Fundamentals don't
Correct.
for the most part.
Yep.
But having to learn and understand and operate this technology and this new equipment, like you said, these units have it, but
Yeah.
are they training with it?
Exactly.
And are they getting the most training
Yeah.
that they can receive at the state
Absolutely.
level? Is there talks of moving forward at the state level, 10th annual now, with the tag match now requiring body armor? And we had heard rumors that maybe we're going to follow suit with
You talking about on the national level?
no at the state level.
Oh, at the state level, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's the biggest pushback is, if you look across all, large military organizations, we're one of the few that don't shoot in full kit. And I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it kind of goes back to the old adage, train as you fight. But there is I understand. I've had a lot of conversations with logistics personnel. It is a very large logistical requirement to issue out 126 sets of plates. So at the end of the day, the tag match is a test of basic marksmanship skills. Who's the best at the base marksmanship skills with rack grade equipment and rack grade ball ammo? Okay. If I have plates on, it's not going to change me much. But there are some individuals that you put plates on, and it's going to change a lot. So I don't know if they have made a decision. I have yet to make a final, say or not. At the end of the day, I want to see maximum participation, and I want to see as much knowledge passed across the force. And if plates are or not in that picture, I want to see, everyone's, like I said it before, everyone's complaining about not getting enough range time and all this other stuff. So that's like where the tag match is derived from. It's like, this is another chance for the state of Colorado to send individuals to go practice their trades.
Yeah. And as the state marksmanship coordinator, working with JFHQ right now and the CTS, we've covered the two biggest events coming up, right, for the rest of the year. And when the rest of the state hears about HHD, G3, state marksmanship coordinator, and the CTS, and they're tracking the Marksmanship Academy and they're tracking the tag match, but that's not it. Can the command team here from the Centennial training site, as well as you, Sergeant Sager, talk about it's not just the Marksmanship Academy and it's not just the tag match. We have other programs and facilities for use at the Centennial training site, as well as HHD and the assets that JFHQ can offer, correct?
Absolutely.
So at the CTS, we have a lot to offer. Okay, to the soldier. First of all, they could stay there at our billets. You can take your unit, section, or individual, and stay for free. Okay, so the billets there are for free. We also have a hotel at the CTS RTI, but that's for a cost. Okay, the rooms are basically identical. Only the billets, the barracks, don't provide linen, and it's free. The hotel provides linen, and there's a cost, $65 per night. Okay, so if you don't want to stay in the room with no linen, if you don't want to bring your own pillow and your own sleeping bag or sheets, then you can pay $65, but it's up to you. But we have that to offer. We also have classrooms for training. We have a total of 4 classrooms. Only 2 are available right now because 2 are being rented out to a tenant that we have there at the CTS. We have multi-purpose rooms available as well to conduct events or training as well. We have a auditorium, huge auditorium, beautiful, and all these are state of the art. They're state of the art facilities, beautiful. We have an amphitheater as well that's available for your use. We have a gym, a beautiful gym. Am I missing anything? I mean, we have a lot to offer at the CTS, and we're still growing. We have what we call a master plan. So we have a future of where we want to grow. We have a total of 160 acres, of land, and we plan to make it the best training facility, in the nation, moving forward.
Additionally, we offer we have Range 49, and we support the range. Come down, put our range to work. You can qualify small arms crew serve, M4 rifle, and pistol on that range. Also, we have TADS, the simulators. So CTS actually owns all of the EST 2000 units throughout the state. I believe there's 5 of them.
There's 5 sites.
5 sites. We own and maintain all of those. And then we also own the Heat Trainer and the VCOT. That's the convoy simulator at the clamshell at Mates. We provide additional training support for units if they request it. We have a lot of resources. The Centennial Training Site is a training enabler for the state and for the commanders of the state. And with the right planning and coordination and reservations, a commander can bring his unit to us. He or she can knock out a whole series of their required medal tasks right there in-house at no cost in a world-class training environment, a facility.
So funny thing is that so I think that building down there is the envy of the whole force here in Colorado. Like first time my wife, funny thing is my wife went there before I went there, and she told me, have you seen the RTI? And I'm like, no, like I haven't had time to go there. That was like when I got here, and she's like, you gotta go there. She's like, I went to the auditorium, and that building is just crazy. And she's like, if I get because she came as the XO for her unit and active duty, and she's like, if I get to do my change of command there, I'll do it. And she did. She's like, hey, I need the contact for the RTI and the CTS. I want my change of command there because that's the best building we have in Fort Carson. So, even active duty, they're like, that building is crazy. Mm-hmm. So, it's great that, the best facilities in the state and are not only from us, but also I think is the best building is for the CTS and the RTI. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's funny. I've heard other active duty individuals that we run into comment about our facilities there and just how beautiful they are. So we just want to keep that up and make it even better. Yeah. Just want to say on Range 49, Sergeant Major brought it up. We're looking at enhancing Range 49 as well. By the summer of 2025, we should have up and running some cleaning stations, some weapons cleaning stations. They're trailers that we're buying. They're actually under construction right now or being built, being manufactured. So, we'll be getting those soon, hopefully. but then we can't just set them down and put them to use. We got the Colorado Army National Guard facilities actually looking into the electricity because it's a small facility, right? So we're going to place one at range 49, and the other one will go somewhere in the vicinity of the CTS. And so that will really help and benefit the units that come through to conduct training and marksmanship at the CTS in range 49.
We've also got the hopefully soon to break ground transient motor pool and the field maintenance building that's going to go up there in that. So the plan is we're going to build a motor pool for tactical parking at the CTS, and in addition there'll be a shop building built there. So when units with maintenance assets come down to CTS to train, they've got a place where they can not only stage their tactical equipment, but they can get inside out of the weather and actually do MOS training on the maintenance side.
Mm-hmm. Really cool.
So that should be coming here in the near future as well.
Yeah, and you just remind me of something else too. Something that we just submitted as as one of our priorities is a kind of like a field house. And hopefully that is approved at the NGB level because we submitted it this year, and it will be utilized for ACFT and any other type events. That can benefit the National Guard, Colorado National Guard.
And then on the JFHQ side,
so like from my side, it's not so much tangible good or hard structured things, but I coordinate and I assist with building teams to go compete at a higher level than the state of Colorado. So we've got regional matches. We're in, I think you've said it in the last podcast, we're in MAC 7, Military Advisory Councils.
Yep.
They follow fairly closely to the best warrior regions. So we're with, 7 states, kind of all generally the southwest corner of the United States.
And that's hosted at the Centennial training site with coordination from Joint Forces Headquarters for the best
warrior,
the best warrior competition as well.
Yeah, so last year the RTI and CTS hosted the best warrior competition, and all of the events were ran out of, either that was a starting point for some, whether it was a ruck march or some kind of land navigation or sticks lanes, because there's a bunch of stick lanes behind, or the possibility of land to use right behind the CTS for sticks lanes, and there's, some pretty decent hills that you can run up and down and some other stuff. So, but yeah, Best Warrior was ran out of CTS, and I think for several years in a row now. So yeah, I coordinate a lot of the matches and selecting the teams and assisting with the teams to get to higher level competitions at the regional level, the national level, and then in the last several years I've been assisting with the international team as well. That's an additional duty that's not really so much through the state of Colorado, but that's just a part of my wheelhouse. So I try to send a selected team of 4. It's always usually 4 firing members for a small arms match, and I'll send these guys to. Last year we went down to New Mexico. This year we're going to go out to Utah for regionals, and then at the national levels, it's always hosted at. And I don't want to sound negative, but it's always hosted at the Winston P. Wilson match, which is in Camp Robinson in Little Rock, Arkansas. So yeah, there's a lot of in between, and that's I've had to dial back a little bit on the assistance that I can give CTS because it seems like it's not completely schedule overlap, but there's either the tail end or the beginning end of a major match is when they're doing a Marksmanship Academy. I'll always go to the tag match. That's my deepest love and passion is right now. So I don't care what international or national match is going on. I'll be at the tag match. But
that's great.
So I don't know. I'd have to bounce schedules off, but I'm going to be taking. I was asked to be a coach and/or instructor for all of the National Guard teams to attend a train up down at Little Rock, Arkansas, prior to All Army, and that's another big match. That a lot of people don't hear about is All Army. It's open to anybody in the Army, Reserves, National Guard, to include the Air Force National Guard. So it gets a little weird with funding, but they're invited to that match as well, and that's hosted at Fort Moore in Georgia. So
And you're about to leave, correct?
Yep. I leave next week. Yep.
Leaders, what does this mean in your, best way that you can describe it? What does this mean for the at the soldier level, the lowest soldier level, when training is restricted or funding is restricted? And we're talking about the Centennial training site, and we're talking about the resources offered here. Is there a gap that we're not meeting, or should we?
It seems in recent years that funding is always an issue, and continually, excuse me, the organization as a whole is kind of forced to do more with less, and so commanders at the company and the battalion levels, they have to decide what are my priorities, what are the most important things that I need to accomplish, what are the most important things that my soldiers need to get trained on and know for the next step of our mission progression, be that to deploy or whatever's next for upcoming on the horizon for the unit. And sometimes there's hard decisions that have to be made there. At the base model a few years ago, there was a lot of emphasis on the Colorado National Guard to improve the lethality of individual training within the organization. And that was one of the big key factors that helped us birth the Marksmanship Academy. These competitions, these matches, we use the tag matches as very much a recruiting event for the marksmanship teams that we send outside the state to represent us, and so they're a great opportunity to find that next generation of shooters and trainers. And I do think there's a lot of importance there. I also understand from the Green Tab side how it's easy to brush that off. I was guilty of that when I was a first sergeant. It's like, I don't have time to send you to go play. We've got real things to do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's error in that train of thought to the point where sending one person to Marksmanship Academy, for example, instead of half of their AT, can become a training enabler for the entire organization, the entire company. And so you lose a little on one side, but the gain is more than you lose. And so by commanders making those hard choices with the right timing and the right individuals, I think it's a good opportunity to spread the wealth, as it were. Every unit, every command team in the state is shorthanded. You ask any commander in the state, what's the number one thing you need? He says more people.
Mm-hmm.
We need bodies, right? And we're the same way. Last year's tag match at 124 competitors, without the gracious help of the G3 and support from the other MACOMs, we don't have the manpower to put that on by ourselves. We couldn't have done that in-house. The logistics support, the medic support, the transportation support that we got, that event would have been a disaster without that support, right? We all need more people. But putting the right people in the right places and sacrificing a little in one spot for a higher gain in another is one of those planning things that leaders and senior leaders have to examine every time they look at their training schedules for the year.
That's great, and that's a great way to see it. Like that thing you just mentioned is like having the the right person in the right spot is, I think, is really, really important. So now that you mentioned we need people, Elevated Duty Podcast lives inside the Recruit and Retention Battalion. So I'm going to change a little bit the direction here. And, because we have you, Sergeant Phebus, Colonel Cabral, like high-ranking people and leaders. How, now I'm going, stay away a little bit from marksmanship topic. So how you got there, we see people like you, and then that's the way I see stuff, and I think there's people that, I met people that they didn't want to promote. I'm like, you don't want to promote? Then sorry, but, you're in the Army, and I think, in life, you're just striving for more. You got to aim for that. You gotta aim for success. So I think, having you two here is great. So can you share with us like a little bit of your experience, like what you can tell people about I think every career is different, but what you can share with us about your career.
It's kind of funny that this all happened this way. Last night when I was coming back through the gates of Fort Carson, I actually got stopped for a random vehicle inspection. And there was a young PFC that's standing there, and once they realized that I was a E9, he started asking me all kind of questions. Young kid, super motivated, and he says, "I want to know about waivers, Sergeant Major." And I said, "What do you want a waiver for?" And he said, I want to be an E4 tomorrow. And I said, "How long you been in E3?" He said, 4 months. And I said, a couple months down the road, as long as you don't get in trouble, you should be an E4. That's not a challenge. What do you want a waiver for? He says, "Because I want to make rank fast." And I turned around and I asked him, I turned a question on him, and I said, "Do you want to make rank fast, or do you want to earn rank? Because those are two different things." I said, "If you want to earn rank and be respected for it, go to every school they offer you. Do more push-ups, more longer planks, run faster, shoot better than all your buddies. Go to every school, volunteer for everything you can do, and work harder than everybody else, and you'll get there. And you'll get there faster than anybody else."
Isn't that crazy, Sergeant Norcross? Like, the fourth podcast we talk about this with Sergeant Max Miller. We are a performance-based organization, and he mentions that. I'm like, he's just spot on. It's like, and then you mentioned something about the volunteering in the military. It's like when you go to basic training, some of the recruiters will tell you, "Don't volunteer, don't raise your hand," and then it's totally the opposite. The more you give the military based on time and effort, the more the military will give you back. So. Do you want to add on to that, Sergeant Norcross?
No, I think you covered it, and Sergeant Major, thank you. I think you covered it as well. It comes up on almost every single podcast, and I'm liking that it's coming up because and we talked about this, and Sergeant Max Miller, and all the other podcasts and prior, and we can have 3 senior leaders attest to it if you all agree. Again, when I joined. I heard never volunteer for anything, be in the middle of the pack, fly under the radar, be invisible. But for the Centennial training site and for advanced positions that are not voluntary, that was going to be a follow-on question is for those soldiers that want more, right? We all have different backgrounds and come from different lifestyles. And this, when you decide to raise your right hand and volunteer in an all volunteer-based organization right now and take on these additional duties, what are your thoughts for these, like you said, Sergeant Major, these new privates and these specialists and these young sergeants and these young officers that want to come be a part of the Centennial training site and want to move over to the Joint Forces headquarters to broaden their careers? Can you tell us your background and how you did it to get to these positions and the advice for these soldiers as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go. It's mediocrity in equals mediocrity out. Like, there's no other way around it. I mean, it's just like anything else in life. And I tell all my students that I instruct on shooting, it's if you want to be better at something, you have to put effort into it. Whether that's driving a car, whether that's learning how to paint or being a podcast host, you just don't. God did not give you the inherent ability to make the best podcast in the world. He didn't make, I wasn't born a world-class shooter. Like, I had to put time in, and that's anything in life, whether it's in the Army or outside of the Army. If I want to be, this young private at a gate guard and I want to be the next Command Sergeant Major of the Army, well, I've got to do not only the steps, the appropriate schools and things like that, but if I'm in the middle of the pack, I expect to finish in the middle of the pack. It's really that simple. As a platoon sergeant for almost 7 years with my last company, it was, I chose to be the leader of this platoon. I chose to do the things that I did. And, it did help with being able to stand in front of 126 individuals on a firing line and tell them what the next course of fire is. So like the little things that I've taken over the last 17 years is, if you don't take the step forward, no one's going to give it to you. But if you can do it on yourself, by all means, and then that's what's going to continue that motivation or that movement forward into excelling in everything else in your life. So it's like, and I don't even know where that stigma came from or that quote, because we've all heard it, but I'm like, it's just, I don't know, it's just bad leadership as far as I know. But it's like, you do hear it and it's true, but it's also those individuals that don't, maybe those were the individuals that didn't want to excel at anything. And, it's just like anything in life. If you want to excel, you gotta put a little bit of effort into it, because it's not going to just hand up. It's just not going to fall in your lap. I'm telling you that right now.
Opportunities. There'll be plenty of opportunities in the National Guard, and there are opportunities. So when, and I think that's kind of what you guys went into, but when one appears, jump on it.
Yeah.
Take that opportunity, because it'll lead to better things in the future. And that's what helped me throughout my career. Just small little things, and I guess if it's called volunteering, then, I guess I did the right thing by volunteering, because it's led me to where I'm at now.
Yeah. I've been, and I bet you, Sergeant Major, you've been, I've been around the world as a traditional guardsman, like Jordan.
Yeah.
Iraq, Kuwait, those are the most sought after places to go, but
They don't send you to places you'd want on vacation.
no, but like en route too, we stopped in Ireland, and on the way back we'd stop in other places.
The
so
perks.
Exactly. So, and it's like, I've been to Slovenia for, 2 weeks, so it's like, you get to see some really cool things. And I would have never been in those situations if I didn't say, hey, I want to go train the Slovenian army on how we train, UAS tech, tips, and techniques. If, someone doesn't raise their hand, that they're going to look to the next guy or gal and say, okay, do you want to go? Do you want to go? Oh, you want to go? Then you're going. But if you don't volunteer for it, then you're never going to go to these cool places or do these cool schools, because there is a lot of stuff, not only in the Army, but in the Guard, that is like, you won't see anywhere else.
We got an opportunity, the commander and I got an opportunity just yesterday to sit with a group of brand new young company commanders and their new first sergeants. And it was kind of cool. The chief of staff, Colonel Martinez, he put on a board panel. So on one side of the room, there was all these senior leaders that had already been through company command or company first sergeant time. And on the other side of the room was all these new leaders coming in. And they shared experiences and they asked questions and stuff. And at the end of it, I gave 2 pieces of advice that I've given to a lot of soldiers over the years along this line, right? 1, you don't know what you don't know. Every day, find a leader, find a mentor, and ask them, teach me something I don't know. The other piece of that is, as a leader, train your people to replace you and prepare yourself to get out of their way. Do those 2 things, and you will be successful. You will climb the ladder. And I addressed that group of young leaders yesterday, and I said, everybody on this side of this room, on this panel, they've won. They were success. The reason they're on this panel is because they were successful doing what you do. There's a wealth of knowledge here. There's decades of knowledge here. Reach out, ask them questions. And so seek mentorship, take every opportunity, have a positive attitude, and above all, be willing to work harder than anybody else. That's how you make rank. That's how you become successful and get to those senior positions.
Sir?
I have one more, very important in the National Guard. We're so small, and we're a family, right? So relationships, that's a key piece to being successful in the National Guard. Okay, and identifying those individuals and reaching out to them and just building relationships. Okay, because you're going to move around to different units, and you're always going to know someone, right?
Absolutely.
And it'll only benefit you in progressing through the ranks.
It's funny seeing on the podcast, we see leaders in all walks of life, soldiers from different backgrounds, but the answers are very similar. The advice is very similar. You had mentioned, Sergeant Major, about talking about the boards at the command course, correct? And mediocrity. And if you strive for mediocrity, you're going to remain mediocrity.
Mhm.
If you never raise your hand, you'll never get to do any of these opportunities at all.
I know it sounds cliche, but it's literally that simple. It's nothing crazy. It's just you have to have just a tiny ounce of personal courage, and just take one step forward. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not some monumental task, And before you know it, we've got well over 40 some odd years of experience here. It's like,
right.
You just have to want. That's all you just have to want to do something.
And you have to want to surround yourselves with like-minded individuals.
Yeah.
To go on a recruiting rant here, if nobody's tracking, there's the Jeep program.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you know people in your civilian life that you would like to surround yourself with, that you think would be an asset to the organization, that have that mindset or different lifestyle backgrounds that they can add to the Colorado National Guard, utilize it before it goes away.
Right.
It's free there for you to bring in people that want to give back to not only themselves, but to the soldiers to the left and right of them. And so one thing I also wanted to just kind of close with is, we had talked about it before, all the soldiers that are interested in broadening and coming to these, kind of senior, more advanced roles, whether at the CTS or Joint Force Headquarters. But those positions are boarded, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so, Sergeant Major, you hit on it. You have to be promotable. You can't be flagged. You can't have anything pending, correct?
Correct.
Do you want to touch on that even more, on what to expect if you are a young soldier, officer, or enlisted that want to come in to one of these organizations?
Yeah, absolutely. So when one of the things that we've done at the CTS here in the last couple of years is all of our vacancy positions, particularly our trainer positions, are competition board only. Okay. We want to be the best training asset, not just in the state of Colorado, but in the National Guard. We can't get there without the best personnel. So if you want to come to the CTS, there'll be a vacancy announcement that goes out on the Kong website. It'll be on the public website. It'll be in the Kong All emails. Find that announcement. If you meet the criteria, fill out a packet. Fill out the packet. Write the memo. Do all the things that it asks you to do. We'll give you a checklist and tell you how to do it. Fill out the packet. We'll schedule a date. You're going to come in and board with the leadership team, and we select. Life's a math problem, and we select the best trainers for the particular positions at the time. At CTS, because we're so marksmanship heavy. You can imagine we attract a certain personality of soldier, right? And that is great, but we have soldiers all across the organization that bring skill sets that maybe we could use those too. The last board that we held, I had 7 applicants for 2 positions, and if I had enough vacancies, every one of them brought something to me that I could have put to work to make us better as an organization. Mm-hmm. And that is very encouraging to me as a leader. That means that we've got good, young, hungry soldiers that want to come in and make the organization better. Unfortunately, when I got 7 applicants, I got 2 slots, I only get to pick 2. But we're because it's a broadening assignment, it's often a revolving door. Soldiers come in, they do a few years, they go out, we have vacancies, somebody gets promoted, so on and so forth. So we're always looking for that new hungry talent. Again, Tag Match, Marksmanship Academy, I do a lot of fishing during those events. I watch soldiers very, very closely. I'm like, I like that guy. she's bringing something to the table that I haven't seen before, right? This person is really hooked, right? Those are the people that I want, and I'll approach them and say, hey, you might consider paying attention to some vacancy announcements. I've done that countless times. And I know that the RTI is doing the same thing. They're looking for certified instructors to teach some of the courses they teach, and they're doing 100% boards. These broadening assignments are very important to a young soldier's progression in their career. If you're active duty, when you hit E6, you will go and either be an AIT instructor, a drill sergeant, or recruiter. You will, 90% of the force. In a guard, we don't have that kind of flexibility. But assignments like these that we have at the CTS and the RTI are an opportunity for you to, again, put different tools in your toolbox, and to take back then to that platoon sergeant position that you're going to get promoted into, and be better prepared to train the next generation of soldiers. It's all about that lethality and that growing the force and the moving the machine forward. And we all have to do our part.
So now you mentioned the members that currently serving, trying to how they can get into the CTS. But why would you tell someone, like all of you, why would you tell someone that they're like currently civilians, like young people, they want to be part of the guard? Like, what you will tell them, like, this is what you need to be looking for?
Well, you want me to talk about like why I joined?
Yeah, you can mention that. And what you will tell someone that is interested into the guard or is not sure, what you will tell them?
Okay, so the guard it does a lot of things for us, right? So first and foremost, the commander mentioned relationships, right? Something happens to a group of soldiers when they're together for a period of time. They build a bond that is oftentimes stronger than most people's family bonds. And that bond transcends time. I have friends that I served with 20 years ago. Often, some of them I haven't seen in a decade. And when we call each other on the phone or meet up somewhere to go have dinner, it's like zero time has passed. You can't experience it until you understand it. So relationships is huge. It's a family unlike anything else. It benefits. The Guard, the Army, put my wife through college, got my bachelor's degree, has got me a full-time career and a military retirement, has fed my kids and kept a roof over their head for 2 decades. That in itself is huge, right? The experiences. I've been all the way around the world. I got to spend a month in South Korea, traveling all over the place, working on equipment. I've been to 7 countries, and I've trained in 44 states, and I've never been active duty. So opportunities. There's you can travel, you can see things, you can experience life in a way that no other job will allow you to do.
Yeah, National Guard, Colorado National Guard is the best thing that ever happened to me. I came from active duty. I was my last duty station was in Puerto Rico, probably near your home, right? Yeah. So active duty tight groups as well, but not like the Guard. Okay, I wanted to leave active duty just because of the PCSing, whatnot, young family. So wanted to settle down. My commander wanted to send me to Officer Candidate School, OCS, on active duty. And I almost went, but, at that same time, my wife was throwing out resumes. She was offered a position. And so we're like, no, we're getting out, and so my commander, once I talked to him, said, no, sir, I'm not going to OCS. I'm getting out of the Army. He personally took me in his car to a National Guard recruiter in Puerto Rico. Yeah.
Nice.
And so that changed my life. He took me, didn't know what the Guard was. and came in for OCS in Colorado, and that shaped me to where I'm at now. So yeah, it opened up so many opportunities. Got to do what I like to do as the military, but here in Colorado instead of moving around, and just those relationships that I built throughout the years. I couldn't have had that in active duty. And then aside from that, all the benefits that we gain here too. I mean, I already had my bachelor's that I gained in active duty, but in the National Guard, I was able to get my master's degree all for free, with both federal tuition assistance, because we get federal tuition assistance and the state tuition assistance. So it was 100% for me for a master's degree, and there's just a lot more out there that I'm not thinking of, but I mean, just it's been the best that's happened to me.
That's great. What about you, Sergeant?
Yeah, the Colorado Guard's just been really good. It's just the simplest ways. I would never, if you would have asked me 17 years ago, would you be on a range with some of the best shooters in the country, I would have told you that you were crazy. Like, there's no way. Or even, surrounding yourself with some of the best individuals in the state of Colorado. I would have never believed it. Coming back from the aviation side, there's a lot of technical things that you can learn from the Army aviation, and even wheeled, tracked mechanics that you can take to the civilian side, and it's not even questionable how relative they are from wearing this to not wearing this. Just the ability to meet some of my best friends in the world, meet some of the most talented individuals that any organization can have. Seeing really cool parts of the world. I joined just to, it was in 2007. It was at the heyday of, Operation Iraqi Freedom. And it was just like, that's what I want to do. I want to go do bad things to bad people. And I want to help, fight the good fight. And, and then at the end of the day, I came home with that camaraderie of surrounding myself with people and dangerous situations and building those bonds, like Sergeant Major was saying. It's just, I can't tell you a bad thing about the Colorado Guard because I haven't personally experienced it. It's just, you have to look for opportunities. Sometimes you have to look for them, sometimes they're offered to you, but I've never heard or seen of a setting someone up for failure opportunity. It just doesn't happen, at least in this organization. It's like everyone way higher than me has my best interest in heart, and they're trying to make not only myself better, but the organization as a whole better. So they're not going to set me up for failure, and they're not going to set any of us up for failure, because at the end of the day, if they lose me or they lose any of us, then not only is the millions of dollars that are wasted in investments, but it's just the knowledge that's going to be lost as well. So I've never seen anything bad personally. Now I know there's some horror stories out there. There always will be a horror story. There will always be a horror. I'm not going to say it never happens, but it's also sometimes when those horror stories are told and or shared or, said again, sometimes you got to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, there's three sides to the truth here, right? And there's their side, there's the other person's side, and then what actually really happened. And you got to delineate between those three things and kind of make your own decision before you raise your right hand.
Yeah. And for everybody listening, non-paid actors, right? It's podcast after podcast, the same stories, stories of success, overcoming trials and tribulations. Sergeant Major, I'll take, one last thing I want to ask is, you mentioned it just when you were talking before about asking your leaderships to tell you something and learn something. And so for the senior leaders here at the table, for, an individual like myself and Sergeant Rivera and those soldiers, our soldiers here in the Colorado National Guard that are at the base level, what is the piece of advice you could give those soldiers, to include myself, to keep going? Every unit, once a year, you should get talked to about retention. And when we talk to soldiers about why they should stay in, there's all these programs that come up. And well, I didn't get the opportunity or I haven't had it yet, what would you tell those junior soldiers and junior officers? What motivation to keep driving?
One of my favorite mentors retired here a few years ago, and there was over 1,000 people at his retirement ceremony. And the next day, as much as we all loved him, the machine drives on. I'm going to age out and retire. Colonel Cabral's going to age out and retire. Sergeant Sager's going to age out and retire. You guys are the next generation that's going to keep the machine moving. We need you to step up and absorb everything that you can so that when our knowledge is gone, somebody else has absorbed it. That's, I mean, in a short answer, that's the best I can give you.
I think that's a great way to close the podcast today. It's an hour and a half in. So if you're liking the podcast and all our content, go below, comment, subscribe, hit the notifications bell so whenever we upload a video, you will get a notification. And subscribe. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, CO National Guard, at CO National Guard. The links will be on the description, or they will come up as overlays. Anything else you want to add, Sergeant Norcross?
No, just one more thank you to the leaders here for taking time out of your very busy schedules. I know it's drill weekend right now in the Colorado National Guard. And so, like you said, Sergeant Major, the machine will keep going, and we can come here and spread the word to hopefully those new soldiers and the next generation. And if you're interested, join the National Guard storefront, Parker, Colorado office. You can find our recruiting team here. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I just got one last thing. Like I said, Marksmanship Academy. If you haven't asked your first line leaders, ask them now. It is 29 April through 5 May. If you have not asked your first line leaders about the tag match, it is 31 July through 4 August. So this is your chance. This is your proverbial slap across the face of, I didn't get an opportunity to do X, Y, and Z that we just talked for about an hour and a half now.
Yeah. And then
ask.
If you ask your leadership and they don't know how to get you into that,
point them to me.
Send us a message through our DM, CO National Guard Facebook or Instagram, and then we will connect you with Sergeant First Class Sager.
Absolutely. So I didn't want to be the last one to say the last word, but I just wanted to you're asking for opportunities. Here's your opportunity, guys.
Absolutely. We'll feed you. We'll house you. We'll teach you stuff. It'll be great.
Absolutely. And we will train you. Yeah. Great. Awesome.
Thank
We're
you.
done.
Appreciate it.